Okay, so do you ever want something so badly or think to yourself for so long, something would be so cool, but then you accept in yourself that it's just never ever gonna happen, and then one day you find out it's been announced that that thing is happening? And if you don't know about it, I will tell you about it now. At Comic-Con, this is the biggest news at Comic-Con so far that I've seen. Yeah, there's been some Justice League stuff and Guardians of the Galaxy, but this is the game changer to me. And I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert. I'm talking about Man of Steel 2, so if you haven't seen Man of Steel, there are some spoilers in here. You've been warned, now you know. It was announced that in the next Man of Steel movie, the Man of Steel sequel, Batman is going to be in it. And it was announced some years ago that a Batman-Superman crossover was gonna happen. It just never happened. Now it's actually happening. Zack Snyder was like, this is happening. And it's not some unlinked, unrelated, well, Batman-Superman crossover movie, but it's unrelated to Man of Steel. No, this is the Man of Steel sequel, directed by Zack Snyder, written by David S. Goyer, has Henry Cavill, the whole cast is returning. It's the Man of Steel sequel. And in that sequel, Batman. The best part is how they announced it. You could have announced this with a tweet and it'd just be nuts. But no, Zack Snyder had Harry Lennix come out. Harry Lennix is the guy who played the General in Man of Steel. And Harry Lennix reads a quote, and the quote was, "I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you." And then the Superman S symbol that's not an S, it's a symbol of hope, came up on screen with the bat symbol behind it, and I guess fans in the room just freaked the fuck out. I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty cool. Just as sure as I am that any man in that room later on in life will hold his firstborn son for the first time with his wife who was just in labor for about 48 hours next to him, and he will say to her, "This is the second most magical moment I have ever been a part of." Yeah, seriously, this is crazy news. And people were like, oh, it's gonna be Christian Bale or Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think the Dark Knight trilogy is its own thing. This will not have that Batman. This will be a new Batman. You see the bat symbol that's behind the Superman symbol, and it's ultimately from the Dark Knight Returns. Point is, it's not a Nolan Batman symbol from the Dark Knight movie, so I don't think it's going to be a Nolan type Batman. This is Batman not from the Dark Knight movies. And of course the implication that the Dark Knight Returns is inspiration for this new movie. You think to yourself, well, you know, Batman in the Dark Knight Rises went away and now he can return. But he's already returned. He returned in the Dark Knight Rises. That was the point of that movie. That'll be redundant. And I don't think they were illustrating that the Dark Knight Returns is inspiration for this new movie because of Batman and his whole story arc. I think they're trying to illustrate the relationship that Batman and Superman are gonna have, which is they're not gonna be pals. I imagine by the end of the movie they'll work together for the common good, but they're not really friends when they meet. They're not really friends a lot of the time. And then the thought comes to mind, well then he won't have any build up and we won't know him. You know Batman by now. You know him. You know Batman's story. But if Batman is some sort of anti-hero in this story, if he is going up against Superman, then I'm not saying he's a villain, but he is basically the role of what a villain would play in a movie with Superman. In which case, if you're saying, well, Batman doesn't have any build up to this and we don't know him, you know him as much as you would know any other villain that would go up head to head against Superman. I'm just saying any character in a role like that doesn't need his own movie to build it up. Especially if it's Batman, who you know by now. Just like Superman, you know Superman by now. I say that to people who are like, it's too soon for Superman to have a crossover. No, it's not. If DC is seriously gonna contend with the Marvel Universe that is expanding and doing crossovers all the time now, they are going to have to do a crossover now. Or at least in 2015, which is when this Man of Steel sequel is coming out, and it makes sense to have your two flagship characters meeting up in one movie. But then I start thinking to myself, how will they incorporate Bruce Wayne into this world? And I don't know for sure. These are just all my theories. My mind's been racing 100 miles an hour since I've heard this news. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, you have Metropolis and half of that city got wiped out. I always thought Lex Luthor would come in because he's like, hey, I'll help rebuild the city because I'm a good guy like that, right? Yeah, But now I'm thinking to myself, what if two billionaires from the DC universe got together and they rebuilt Metropolis? So you have Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne working together to rebuild Metropolis. Lex Luthor's a pretty slick guy, you know? So what if Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne start out as friends? And then Superman finds out that Lex Luthor is actually a dick and he's going up against him, and then Bruce Wayne's like, all right. And he suits up in Batman suit and he's like, why are you going after that nice man? Dude, we're trying to rebuild Metropolis. Why are you being such a chode? And then they clash, and I think it would be really interesting if Bruce Wayne starts out on the side of Lex Luthor. He really has no reason to hate him at that point, so why not? They're all being good guys. I mean, ultimately, Bruce Wayne, Batman, he's a cautious guy. You have this Kal-El, who is the same species as this Zod that wasted Metropolis. Is Bruce Wayne gonna trust him? No, he's got trust issues. He's not going to. And this is a stretch, but it would still be kind of cool if Batman's like, you killed Zod, I don't kill. I do that voice and not the hockey pads voice because, like I said, it's not gonna be Christian Bale. I don't think. And from there, your mind races to 100 directions as to how they could take that kind of conflict. And I don't know for sure. Like I said, my mind's just racing and I'm coming up with shit that's just like, maybe. It's how my mind works. The point is, I cannot wait to see this movie. I always love it when Superman and Batman, they're clashing. I'm pretty sure Batman's not going to win win in this movie because it's Superman's movie. But that would be great if Batman humbles him a little bit. Indestructible, you beat Zod, doesn't matter. The Avengers 2, Star Wars Episode 7, and Man of Steel sequel with Batman, aka Batman Superman crossover. All in 2015. That is the year to know right there. I feel like another economic crisis is going to happen because you can't have that much awesome without some bad to counterbalance it. Otherwise, it's just called heaven. It is called heaven on earth, and we will all be there to experience it. So discuss below. Batman in the new Man of Steel sequel. What do you think about it? Whatever you think, comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.